been a long time since I made a video like this, but I'm going to be talking about a very well-known skate video called Second Nature. Second Nature is a full-length downhill skateboarding video, and it's, I think, possibly the first full-length downhill skateboarding video. I could totally be wrong about that, but it's the first one that comes to mind when I think of the history of full-lengths. It features skating from Patrick Rizzo, J.M. Duran, and Noah Sakamoto. But there's actually like a pretty extensive team that worked on this. There's a director, there's a co-director, there's a bunch of people listed as credits for the music. A large team went into the creation of Second Nature. This video came out in 2009, and when it came out, it actually debuted at a bunch of film festivals where it was actually pretty successful. I think it won like 4 different awards and was selected to be put into a bunch of other film festivals, which is kind of like an award in and of itself. I'm going to be talking about the skating, the filming, the editing, the music, all of these different choices that kind of make up what exactly Second Nature is. During the video, there's these 3 distinct sections of skating. There's also a lot of sections in this video that are not skating that I'm going to get into a little bit later, but those 3 distinct sections can be broken down by their locations and the way that they're filmed. The first location happens in a place I don't know if I've ever seen before. It's just this long, sweeping mountain pass, and it looks like it's possibly in a desert. It looks very much like Southern California desert. The second section happens in an extremely recognizable Sonora Pass, probably one of the most famous downhill skateboarding locations in the world, and they're skating that one run from Sonora that like everybody knows. This section features a lot more panning and stationary shots. In fact, there's no onboard camera footage from this section, which makes it stand out a lot from the first section. And then in the final area, we are back to onboard filming, but this time it also features J.M. Duran. It looks like they also experimented with some follow filming, but not with a car, with a motorcycle of some sort. It looks like there's a driver and there's also a filmer riding on the back, but at one point they hit J.M. Duran, and I think they just ditched the idea of doing that because I think it's the only time that it happens. And like I said, there's no follow filming in this video, which is a little different because that's kind of a staple of all downhill skateboarding videos now. It's at least a part of almost every single, definitely full-length video. As far as the skating goes, it's very different from what we expect from a downhill skateboarding video now. This is 2009, and it's kind of an interesting point in the development of skills within downhill skateboarding. In the early 2000s, people were racing and were braking by using their feet, their foot braking. Nowadays, we brake almost entirely by sliding, pre-drifting, whatever you want to call it. And this is right at the time where people are starting to experiment with sliding. And you do see that here and there, but it really is only a pretty small section in the middle where you see a lot of sliding happening. In the first and last sections of the video, you see them skating with these huge sweeping carves crossing over the road, and pairing this with the onboard camera filming. It looks really cool when you have this fisheye lens where things come blasting in and out of the frame as they sweep across each other. It just creates this very quick, rapid sensation, which actually feels, I would say, similar to how actual carving feels on a skateboard. And one thing that feels really different about this video compared to other downhill skateboarding videos that we are more used to now is there's no parts. There's not really like an objective style of skating here. Nobody is trying to accomplish something specific. They're just kind of taking runs and filming them as they go in a group. Everything is skated in groups. There's no singular focus on one person at a specific point like there would be with parts in other videos. And this definitely influences the tone that we'll get more into later. These guys are riding mega big pintails, like 40, 42-inch, stiff but giant pintails, probably on like Randall 42s and maybe 70 millimeter wheels, maybe 75, could be, but they're these massive pintails, and it's cool to see how they stand on them. Their stances aren't huge to match them. They actually kind of stand far back from the front of the board, towards the middle where the board is actually beefier because it's a pintail. It's just how the shape is. And it really kind of influences, I think, how they end up carving. Everything kind of has this delayed input, kind of like surfing or just not standing right on top of that front truck like we are used to seeing now, where everything is so direct and immediate. The carving style really does look different with the way that they're standing in relation to the trucks. And obviously, if anybody remembers anything about Second Nature, it's probably the blue suits. Patrick Rizzo and Noah Sakamoto wear these baby blue suits throughout pretty much the entire video. And JM Duran does wear a suit, although it's white. Really odd man out here. Come on, JM. The music is very interesting in this video. I really like this commitment to this tone that the musicians are trying to put forward. Based on the 4 different musicians that are credited in creating the soundtrack, it seems as though they either hired individuals to create individual songs, or they got a group to write all of these songs. Based on the music itself and what I hear, it seems like each person maybe created 1 or maybe 2 pieces of music that were then utilized within the video, but I could be wrong. It's hard to know. The editing of Second Nature is really what makes it the iconic piece that we are more familiar with now. There's a lot going on here, so this is going to be a longer section. Unlike an Alex Amin video, which rapidly cuts between clips of skating for 2, 3, 4 seconds, Second Nature features a lot more longer cuts where there's 20, 25, 30 seconds of footage before anything is cut, especially with these long mountain bombing onboard shots where the camera's just being passed around. This feeling of just being there and sitting in the moment that is being filmed has this hypnotizing effect on the viewer. The video is color graded with this yellowy filter, and it makes you feel a little sick, a little woozy, a little drowsy maybe. And coupling this with the music, it creates this sense that kind of pulls you in. It creates this feeling of engagement, not because you're necessarily so pulled into the action of what is happening, but from all these different elements, they kind of soak you into the moment of what's happening in the video. The video occasionally throws some curveballs at you by surprising you subtly with little things like there's a moment where the skaters all of a sudden are wearing costumes. There's like a bearded mask, there's a bear mask, there's all sorts of just bizarre costumes that are thrown on. There's moments where the skaters are not really in themselves. They are almost portraying a character. There's a moment where they're swimming underwater. There's a moment where they're sitting in a waterfall, a very small waterfall, but they're sitting in a pool of water, doing things that, it's not like B-roll. They're not naturally doing this. This has been a specific direction that has been given to the skaters more so as actors than as just people being filmed skating. And you can't forget the animated section in the middle of the video featuring Kenny G at a Waffle House. It feels very 2000s Aqua Teen Hunger Force, kind of like stoner humor, and it's super out of left field, but I think it has a charm to it. And I think it actually tells us a little bit more about the makers of the video and maybe about the skaters than we kind of get from the otherworldliness of the rest of the video. It also does a good job of kind of breaking the video up and kind of separating us for a moment from this mystical element of the rest of the video by adding in this clearly humorous, clearly a break, much lighter moment from the rest of the video. So is Second Nature good? Well, okay, so when I first watched Second Nature, granted I started skating downhill more seriously in probably like 2011, 2012, so this is a few years before that. And I came in when people were skating, doing big stand-up slides. This is the time of the slide jam. This is the time of huge stand-up slides. It's about technicality in how you slide. So Second Nature skating is very different from that. And I really wasn't a huge fan of Second Nature. I didn't get it, per se. The skating is fast for sure at times, but it just doesn't seem as impressive or skillful as what I was searching for at the time. However, I've grown to see this less as a skate video and more of an art house project. While this is a skate video, it involves skateboarding. I think that the video is best experienced when you go in not expecting a skate video. It's an art house video, so it's made to make you feel something. That unsettling feeling that I was exploring earlier is done so purposefully. It's supposed to make you feel that way. It puts you in a different headspace. I also think that Second Nature is probably best watched alone by yourself because of this. And sometimes I think it's really successful at this, where you've got these long shots of this sweeping carves down this massive mountain road, passing the camera from person to person with this wide fisheye angle that makes everything blast by, to the scene where they're swimming underwater in their suits, very up close to the camera, while Tibetan singing bowls play in the background, to one of my favorite shots where it shows a rear passenger perspective of two of the skaters sitting in the front seat of their car as the windshield shows a green screen of video footage of scenery going sideways. It really does a good job, I think, of putting you in this uncomfortable space. At some moments, though, I think that Second Nature doesn't do as good of a job of setting and keeping this tone. The blue suits and costumes, while now kind of becoming the iconic thing of Second Nature, I actually feel like do the video a bit of a disservice. The editors and videos clearly have this tone that they are trying to build, and I feel that these costumes, really what they are is costumes, almost detract and distract me from this feeling of being involved in the video. They're kind of always kind of this nagging moment of, oh, these dudes just thought this was really funny, they found these at a thrift store, versus really becoming immersed in the video. I also think the third section of skating fails to reestablish a tone after the funny Aqua Teen Hunger Force Kenny G-ish animation video. We never really bring ourselves back to the same level of immersion that we had in the first half of the video before that animation took part. And I think that this is possibly due to the fact that it's so similar in style of skating and filming as it was to the first part of the video where they're handing the camera down the mountain. They're doing it in that section as well. I think that maybe this section would have been stronger with all of the wind noise taken out and maybe another piece of music being used. I think it struggles to reestablish tone at the end. Second Nature is a huge part of downhill skating history. It features a bunch of legendary skaters at a pivotal moment in downhill skating history where the way that we skate hills was changing along with technology that was changing a lot in downhill skateboarding. It's a video that you kind of have to go into not expecting to watch a skate video, but to have an experience in a way. So you kind of got to go into it with an open mind. Enjoy.